Hello everyone and welcome to today's Salesforce webinar, Field Service Intelligence. My name is Sarah and I will be your moderator for today's event. Before we get started, I'd like to just go over a few housekeeping items. You have entered this webinar in listen-only mode. That simply means that you are muted so we don't pick up any noise from your end. We do welcome and encourage you to submit text questions at any time via the questions pane in your GoToWebinar control panel. We will save those questions for a Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. If you have any technical issues, please type questions in that same pane and I will respond to you ASAP. We are recording today's webinar and you will receive a follow-up email that will include the recording as well as any links mentioned today. So by submitting your questions today, you also agree to have them logged, read out loud, and recorded. Without further ado, I would now like to introduce today's presenters. We have Mike Salem, Lead Solution Engineer at Salesforce, and Michael Rockford, CEO and founder of RadialSpark. Welcome, Michael. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello, everyone. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us for this webinar today. And so we'll just get right to it. So today what we're going to cover is we're going to talk briefly about IoT devices and what that actually really means and how it then relates to field service management, both what it's looked like in the past and what it's looking like now in the future. And then Mike Salem is going to do a quick demo for you guys going over an IoT integrated field service lightning demo. It's a pretty cool app and we're really excited about it. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A session for you guys to ask any questions or leave any comments. So first and foremost, IoT devices are growing and growing rapidly. As you can see by this chart here, like consumer devices are expected to grow by an order of magnitude within the next few years. This is going to be critical for businesses going forward in managing their integrated environments. Having an integrated environment between all of your different systems is really a key to business success, and Salesforce is really allowing us to bring this all together with their incredibly diverse and robust platform by leveraging tools like Field Service Lightning and Heroku. This is directly related in how your business will be able to capture data from all of these different integrated devices and really start to make sense and leverage that type of data. So IoT devices are continuously monitoring. They're working in harsh environments now and they're becoming exceptionally affordable. And new programs and features are now out there for us to be able to monitor multiple disparate devices at the same time at a very low cost, including things like having longer battery lives and more efficient consumption of resources. Integrating devices are really becoming more accessible and practical for all types of business. On top of that, a lot of these devices are more accessible from a technical standpoint, as there are more tools now available to us to be able to integrate all these disparate devices through the use of common languages and frameworks that we have. So let's talk about field service really quick. So field service in the past, if something broke, you had to call someone, report an issue. Maybe sometimes you wouldn't even know the thing was broken because no one would know to report it. The device can't let you know it's sick or injured or anything. It's just sitting out there in a field somewhere. And so someone has to be there to report or check on the problem. And then once that process started, well, now you have to schedule a repair, find the right type of technician, build out a priority list. And usually those technicians then have to go through some sort of project management process, some sort of assignment process, because they usually have several different types of jobs they have to do that day. And all of this just adds overhead on top of the whole field service process. Then you go out there, you don't have the right tools for the job because you really weren't sure what the problem was. It's just that it wasn't working. And so then you have to come back and schedule a follow-up call. And most of you who've ever had a appliance repair tech that have come out to your house to fix your fridge, They come out, they do a service call, and they're like, oh, nope, I didn't bring that part today. I'll be back tomorrow. Too bad all your frozen goods have melted. Well, that's what the field service industry is currently right now, because they just don't have access to that information. But now looking in the future, or really looking right now, especially leveraging platforms, leveraging the Salesforce platform, we can make predictive service calls. Like, we can diagnose problems before they even happen, and when failures do happen, the devices themselves can tell us what is going wrong and what we need to do to diagnose the problem. What this means for you guys is you have smarter, more efficient use of your field service agents. You're able to quickly identify problems and put the proper technician with the proper tools to resolve the issue. Obviously, this leads to dramatically reduced costs and better customer experiences. Like the whole fridge, you don't lose, lose a whole month's worth of food and supplies. And on top of that, all that efficiency, I mean, really what that means for you and your business is an increased bottom line for your business, and that's just better for everyone. So let me go there. And now I'm going to pass this off to Michael Salem, and he's going to do a quick demo that we actually performed at the Austin Smart Cities Conference. And discussing how practically this Salesforce can really solve this type of problem. Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Michael Rockford. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you for that introduction. And for everybody on the call, thanks for joining today. Again, my name is Mike Salem. I'm a solution engineer with Salesforce, and my focus is the intersection of emerging technology with our government customers. And so for the last few years, I've been working with cities across the country on how they can use Salesforce to automate as much of their various city management processes as possible. Think of it like, the game SimCity, but for real. And when we talk to these cities, they want to save money, they want to be more efficient, but they also have so much that they're providing oversight on that has to do with public safety, right? Just keeping the citizens in these cities safe. And so one of the issues that's come up over and over and over again is the idea of traffic lights and how dangerous that can be if one of them goes out for the cars that are driving within those intersections. And if you think about that process, just like Michael Rockford mentioned earlier, somebody has to notice that there's an outage, alert the city, identify the right department, they have to find the right person, and then send that person out there to fix what ultimately would be a very dangerous situation the longer it goes on. And that involves a lot of people. It's very inefficient. It's a slow process today that has a lot of clipboards and checkboxes involved, and everything's done on paper. And as I work with all these cities around the country, this is one of the most consistent things that comes up over and over again is how do we get the people out of the picture? How do we resolve these issues as quick as possible? Yes, we want to save time and more efficient, but how do we introduce a higher level of trust in our ability to serve our citizens and provide that public safety as much as possible? So Salesforce and Heroku and our partners like Radio Spark, we're in a great position to do that today, mainly because of a lot of the benefits and improvements around Internet of Things technology that we've seen over the past few years, and how Salesforce is there ready to answer that call and show how we can work within that space. And so I'm going to focus on a city management use case today, but everything I show you is just as applicable for any type of organization that has to perform field service of some kind and is interested in becoming more efficient, saving money, doing things quicker, etc. So that was a little bit of an introduction. I'm sure you're wondering what's going on my screen right here, and I have 3 different panels up. On the left-hand side, if you look at that iPhone on the left-hand side, that is my simulated traffic light. So that's what I'm going to use to have the outage occur. In the middle, that's my Heroku application. That's what's being used to monitor the status of the traffic light and then also to start to create these work orders and these schedulings in Salesforce. And on the right-hand side, that's my field service mobile application. Within Field Service Lightning, that's what the technicians out in the field would have to be alerted of the issues and also to access all of the appropriate information at the right time to ensure that they can resolve that issue. And again, in this case, it's a public safety issue, so it has to be resolved as fast as possible. So to start this demo, I'm going to go ahead and turn that traffic light out. So you can see that the light went out here. If you were watching my Heroku application, you can see that that light turned from green to gray, meaning it noticed that there was an outage. And now my iPad has just been alerted. So as a field technician, I've just been alerted that there's an outage. I can click right into it, and the Field Service Lightning mobile application will take me right to the public safety issue in question, which in this case is that traffic light outage. So that happened pretty quick, but I want to stop a minute and just have you think about what actually has to go on for that entire process that I just showed you to happen. The traffic light went out on the left. Somebody has to notice it, right? The Heroku application was monitoring the status of that traffic light, and then a work order was created in Salesforce. Today, I mentioned clipboards and multiple teams and departments, and that could take days, right, at most. And we can't, across all of our cities around the country, we can't let days go by when it comes to these types of public safety issues. And again, that's increasing costs, that's increasing time, and it's just not an efficient process. So I know that happened pretty quick, but that was a pretty interesting way to monitor the outage of that traffic light. And now to continue the demo, I'm going to continue from the iPad on my right-hand side from the persona of a field technician. So in this case, you know, I'm out and about, I'm in my truck, I'm performing the work that I have to do that day, and I just received this alert. You saw me click into it, and now from this screen, I have everything that I need to access. I have access to all the information that I need. I can keep other systems and teams up to date right from this one spot. So at the top, I can see the work order number. I can see the address and some high-level information, right? The light is connected, but it's off and it should be on. And that brings me to my tabs. So the first thing that we represent is the routing. This is showing my location and where the outage is and the most efficient route to get there. So in the field service community, routing is huge. The savings when it comes to time and money around getting an efficient route for all of these different technicians getting to where they need to get to is massive. And that's why that's the first thing that we represent. We show you the route right up front. Now, as I'm driving there, if I have to make sure that I have the right parts in my inventory, that I have the right tools and everything that I need to do the job when I get there, I can also log which products, which pieces of inventory I'm going to be using to fix this issue. Now, another huge issue within the field service community is how do we keep the people in the field and what they're using, the parts that they have, up to date with our back-end financial systems, with the teams that are responsible for procurement and ordering new parts, and how do we keep those two things in sync? You can do that right from this application, and that's just one more example of how using Salesforce can make things like this that much more efficient. So back to my routing for right now. I know where I need to go, and I have the directions on how to get there. If I need to send it to another application, I could. If I needed to get in touch with a supervisor or some sort of tier 2 escalation, I could do that right from the application. And I can also see the entire history of this particular asset in question. And this can even be broken out into sub-assets. So as a part of my process, I need to know what's gone on with this in the past so that I can efficiently troubleshoot that. And I don't have to call anybody. I don't have to get in touch with any other kinds of teams to see what they've done in the past. I can see that all right from my application. And that's because all of this information is either stored in Salesforce or comes into Salesforce from other systems that are part of the process, so we can use Salesforce in this mobile application as our one system of engagement for this end-to-end resolution of a public safety issue. So I've arrived on site, and I get there, and I notice that I need to take a picture of something. I need to either send a picture of this light to the back office for that tier 2 analysis, or there's something I haven't seen before. And I can do all this right from the application as well. Please help, right? I noticed something I don't know before, or there's something not working right. Can you help me? So now again, right from this application, I've sent a picture to the back office, and I can get additional tier 2 assistance if I need it, right? Again, using this application to become the most efficient as possible and doing everything we need to do right from a mobile device. So as I keep scrolling, I see the line items that are related to this work order. I see exactly what I need to do, and right now it's at 0%. So at the end of this demo, when I show you how our analytics cloud can keep track of all this, you'll see how what I'm doing as a field tech in the field comes into the overall management of all the work orders in process. So before I start completing this work order, I arrive on site and maybe I just need a refresher maybe there's a new process or a piece of this equipment that I'm not sure how to fix immediately, I also have access to all of the content that I would need. So using our Field Service Lightning mobile application, we ensure that all the field technicians have the right information at the right time to do their job. But another big issue that always comes up is the idea of connectivity. Let's say I get there and my internet connection goes out. Well, my work shouldn't have to stop, or my level of access to information shouldn't have to stop just because I'm either connected or not connected. So what I've done is I've set my iPad to airplane mode just to simulate that break in connectivity. And I'm going to continue the resolution of this work order. So what I'm doing now is I've checked into the line items, and as I complete these steps, what I'm doing on the traffic light in question, I'm just showing what I've done and what I'm completing. And you can see that the chart there is updating to 67%. So I'll go ahead and complete the last one. And remember, I'm doing all of this offline. And now I'm at 100%. This information would get sent to the back office, and everybody behind me would be able to see what I'm up to. So in order to show how that offline sync works, if you look at the top right-hand corner of the app, see that green arrow that's pointing up? If I click on it, that's now showing me the changes that have been saved on my mobile device and what has not yet been synced with Salesforce in the cloud. So if I bring my iPad off of airplane mode, now that sync would happen in real time. And really the only reason I showed you this is just to prove that the sync works, but none of our field technicians would ever have to actually worry about coming to the screen and clicking a box or anything, right? This would all go on behind the scenes as they're driving around in various areas and are coming on and off of their connections. So now that I'm back online, I've sent the information, everything I need to do back to the teams that are in the office monitoring all this, and I want to make sure that I create a service report to document everything that's going on. So I can perform an electronic signature. I know my signature is amazing. And that's all I have to do, a couple clicks. I signed it, and now the report's being generated within the Field Service Lightning mobile application. So if you see how that PDF just popped up, I can also see a preview of it. So I've branded it as City of Austin, but you can see where the different branding would come into play, where our mail merge type functionality is. If you wanted to include financials in here, again, to keep track of parts and what needs to be ordered with those other types of ERP systems, and even the electronic signature down there at the bottom. So this would be the end of that process that I just outlined for you. A lot of our cities have to document what they've done for audit purposes or for archival purposes or to work with other types of governing bodies. And this is really that final seal of approval here to show that we arrived on site, and this is the history of everything that's done. Now again, across electronic signature and document generation and mobile functionality with offline, and even all of this Internet of Things functionality, I haven't left the Salesforce ecosystem. These are all of the things and more that can occur when you're using the different types of clouds and functionality we have to offer. In this case, we're going over Heroku and Field Service Lightning. So now that the service report's been created, if you look back towards my app on the left, you can see that the light has come back on. Heroku, which is monitoring the traffic light, is green again. And as these connected devices are being monitored, if another outage happened, we could start this process all over again. But what we looked at today was just a single work order. But if you think about cities and states and really any kind of organization, private companies that have to perform field service, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of issues that occur on a daily basis. And somebody has to make sense of it all. They have to track everything. They need to know what we're spending money on, what we're spending our time on, where all of our people are, and also what are the bottlenecks and potential process improvement areas. And that's where Analytics Cloud comes into play. So what I'm going to show you here is how we can keep track of everything and also explore the data to find insights and find a means of resolution. So just at first glance, I can keep track of things like my total work order volume. I could filter this by various categories like resources or priority. I can even switch this from work type to account back to maybe product, for example, and you can see how the dashboard is changing in real time. If I wanted to filter in by a certain status, everything is dynamic based on what I'm exploring. So this isn't just a static image. It's not just a picture. In a minute, you'll see how you can actually drill into the data behind the scenes. And what this allows you to do is not only consume the information from an enterprise perspective, right, see everything that's going on, but also drill into the information and find those insights that may not always be readily apparent when you're just working on a surface level chart. So to show that, let's take a look at some of my KPIs. In the middle here, you can see travel time, first time fixed rates, time to repair. And I know there's a lot of colors and a lot of stuff going on right now, but I'll make it really easy for you. Red is bad and green is good. So the red areas that are jumping out to me are right now around this time to repair. What this is telling me is that it's taking me longer to repair some things than maybe I would have liked, or maybe what's been the average in the past. And again, from strictly a field service perspective, this amount of time is going to lead to increased costs, right, being less efficient, that kind of stuff. But from a city management perspective, those could be public safety issues that are taking us longer to fix. And that is a whole nother set of priorities that our cities have. So in order to explore this data, I want to drill in and try and see if there's any areas I can identify and work towards a process improvement step. So I'm going to go ahead and explore this data. And what I'm doing now is I'm peeking behind the scenes into the data that made up that chart. And I'm switching it to the actual products. So I want to see what are the things that we're working on and what's taking longest to fix. So I've sorted it by descending, and I can see the generator batteries in general are taking a little bit longer to fix than other things, right? This could be the traffic lights. This could be any other type of asset that in this case the city is responsible for managing. So now that I know where a potential bottleneck is, I also want to see who's been working on it. And within just a couple of clicks, I found a list of my city employees, the types of things that they're working on, and also their performance. And this is where I can start to create a training opportunity. And this is what I mean by finding those insights and being able to take action on those insights, not just looking at data for data's sake. So what this graph is showing me, this bar chart is showing me, are my higher performers at the bottom. Alan Reed is fixing these generator batteries at a faster rate than some of the people at the top. And so this is now my knowledge sharing opportunity. I want to get my higher performers to share what they're doing well with the rest of the group. And in order to do that, I'm going to alert my management team on this particular issue. So I'm going to say, let's have Alan share his knowledge during our next quality council meeting. And just like that, I can post it. Just like the picture that I sent from the mobile device, it's now sent and stored within Salesforce. My management team has been alerted. And I took what was just a notification, right, a red potential issue. I've drilled into it, and I've found my steps towards a resolution. So we've looked at a lot in a very short amount of time. We watched how Heroku can monitor a connected device and can create work orders and schedule them within Salesforce. We've seen how a field technician can receive those alerts right from their mobile device and have access to everything they need to resolve those issues, whether they're online or not. And then we've also seen how the executives or anybody in the back office who needs to make sense of all this and be able to actually find those insights can do it using our analytics cloud. So again, I want to thank Michael Rockford. I want to thank you all for joining today. That brings me to the end of this particular demonstration, and we'll use the rest of the time to field any questions that might come up. Thanks.
Hey, thanks again, Mike. And I really just want to stress, like, this is the power of Salesforce and what it can do for you. A lot of what Salesforce talks about is getting that 360-degree view of your customers and your data. And this is really how you can combine their various clouds to make that happen.
Couldn't agree more, Mike. Any questions popping up on the webinar?
All right, thank you guys so much. Yes, we do have some questions, and I want to invite attendees to type their questions into the question section of the GoToWebinar control panel. And we'll get to a few of these here. The first question reads, okay, so this looks really great, but how much is custom?
That's an excellent question. So, Mike, if you don't mind, I'll take at least the first part of this. So,
by all means.
The IoT device that we were using is a smart bulb, and most of that hardware was had an API layer that was very easy to access. The Heroku connected piece was the main custom portion of this demo, but most everything else you saw, especially within the Field Service Lightning side and of course on the analytics side, was all done through configuration. A lot of the vast majority of those features that you saw on the Field Service Lightning piece are all out of the box. What we just did is get data from A to B. We took the device that the street light in this case, and we took its data and performance and pushed that into Field Service Lightning, and at that point Salesforce did the magic from there.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And so, I'm the SE that's responsible for giving this presentation at various events and with various customers, and that is one of the first question, if not always the first question that always comes up. And Michael Rockford is exactly right. The only code that was written in any way for this entire demo was the Heroku side of it. Everything else out of the box configuration.
All right, thank you. The next question, on the Heroku interface, can you organize lot objects in a hierarchy with folders?
Certainly, you can dispatch or distribute different types of logs and create different priorities for them and pass that data along into Field Service Lightning. As Mike had alluded to in the demo, you can create a hierarchy of disparate types of assets as well as multiple disparate case types for your field service tech to take advantage of at that point. And most of that can be done through configuration, and Heroku on its side can massage and transport that data to fit whatever use case you may have.
All right, thank you. Next question is, would something like this work also with periodic maintenance, like change the light bulb after it's been on for X hours or something?
That's another excellent question, and from that point too, again, this is where the advantage of Field Service Lightning comes into play. We can create scheduled tasks and jobs, for these different devices and whatnot straight in Salesforce. So if there was a routine maintenance plan beyond what the sensors in the particular device that we're talking about here, if they weren't alerting to any problem, but we just need to go through regular maintenance cycles, that can be all configured within Salesforce and scheduled and put into a queue for the dispatchers to be able to send out their field service techs and make that all part of their normal day-to-day operations. Again, all that can also happen without having to leave the comforts of Salesforce and Field Service Lightning.
All right, thank you. I want to remind attendees that they can type their questions into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And we have a few minutes here to continue answering your questions. So go ahead and type those questions into that questions pane, and we'll see if we get some more questions here. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Why do you have to use Heroku? Could you use this on a different server, or could you do this on a different server or service?
Yeah, absolutely. So Heroku again is a platform as a service. So we can host various different types of application on that platform, and those are also compatible with other platforms. So there really isn't a technical reason why we couldn't host it somewhere else. However, just as we talked about how a lot of the clicks not code mantra that Salesforce has for Field Service Lightning, Heroku is a tremendously powerful platform in enabling developers to innovate and build and scale their apps quickly without having to manage all of that infrastructure headache that you would find on other platforms like straight AWS, Google Cloud Platform, or Azure as an example. So technically, I'd have to say, yeah, you can use other platforms to manage this app. This app was actually built in Node.js. It's an open source language and can be deployed locally or wherever, but Heroku just made it that much easier and quicker for us to get up and running. And of course, it's part of the Salesforce ecosystem, so its native connections obviously make that integration point even easier.
All right, great, thanks. And then another one that just came in, do you have to have Lot Cloud to make this work?
Which cloud?
Lot, L-O-T?
Oh, maybe IoT is what they
IoT,
mean.
sorry, IoT.
Yeah, so the IoT cloud is also another Salesforce product. You don't have to have that in this case. In this case, we leveraged Heroku and its ability to build and manage custom apps to integrate this particular device into Salesforce. Salesforce's IoT cloud is also another way that we could fulfill a lot of this type of functionality. However, in this case, like there's, what's the saying? There's like 1,000 ways to skin a cat. We've got that very diverse ecosystem within the Force.com platform, and we chose Heroku for this particular implementation. So to answer your question, no, you don't need the IoT cloud, but you could also evaluate that to see if that fits your particular use case. Mike, do you think I covered that one well?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Michael.
All right, next question. Can you talk about the architecture components that comprise the entire solution, Wave, analytics, IoT devices, etc.?
Mike, do you want to start off with this since I think
Sure.
you've got most of the components?
Sure, yeah. So across the entire solution from end to end, we're using a combination of Heroku, Service Cloud, Field Service Lightning, and our Einstein Analytics product.
All right. And I'm going to give folks just a minute here. Go ahead and type your questions into the questions section of the questions pane if you have any questions. Oh, looks like we have one more here. We are an HVAC company. Can we still schedule service calls manually when someone calls in for a repair?
Mike, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so short answer is absolutely. What I showed you here today was a completely automated process, but if I went into the back end of some of the Salesforce functionality that I skimmed over because we automated it, you could have done all this manually as well. You could have created the work order yourself. You could have scheduled it and assigned it yourself. We're just trying to show the quickest way from A to B.
All right, that's all of our questions for now. I'll give folks just another minute here. Go ahead and type your questions. If you have any last lingering questions into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, and I will relay those on for you. Otherwise, Michael or Mike, do you have any other last items you'd like to share?
No, I think that wraps it up. The only thing I'd like to say is I'd like to thank Mike Salem here again for presenting this with me today. And of course, Salesforce for being a tremendous partner and an awesome platform for us to work with. We're really privileged to be able to get down and dirty and use all the fun tools that you guys keep cooking up. And, I really enjoy this partnership that we have with you guys. And thank you so much.
Likewise. Thanks, Michael. Thanks all.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today, and thank you to our presenters, Mike and Michael. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email, which will include a recording of today's webinar, as well as links that were mentioned today. On behalf of Salesforce and Radio Spark, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.